And we're back. Hello. Um, Hello, David. How you doing?
I'm really good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We're back again. Uh, Another week, another fairly regular occurrence of this. Uh, I don't know, this chat we have, ongoing chat about all the films we that we've watched and like and don't like. Um, and this week we are going to be talking about one of my personal favorite films of all time. I think it's yeah one of the best, just in terms of everything. It's revolutionary in special effects, and it was perfect casting and perfect music and the action and the story and the way it looked. I mean, it was just everything was just hit out of the park. And that film is obviously The Matrix. 1999's The Matrix. Um, this film came, as I said, came out in '99, made by the Wachowski brothers at the time, um, starring Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Lawrence Fishburne, Hugo Weaving, and I think the guy's name's Joe Pantalone. I think the guy who plays Cypher, is it? And yeah, I mean, I'm so excited that we chose this film. As I said, this is one of my favorite films. How do you feel about the film, though?
Yeah, I would echo those thoughts. I think it's important to remember we were around when this came out in '99, and my memory of talking about it is I remember there was like a website which was "What is the Matrix?" and it was like a mystery. That the trailers for this film, it was like a question mark, what's the Matrix? And I remember the people that had seen it wouldn't give away what the answer was to that, and so it was intriguing to try and go to the film and work out, okay, what is the Matrix? And obviously we'll get into what the answer is, but what a great way to pull you into to watching the film in the first place. You obviously had cool things like the Nokia phone and the long black jackets and people looking cool, but you didn't really know what the film was about going into it. So that's sort of my opening sort of statement on it.
Yeah, I think with me, I remember I didn't see it at the cinema because I think I was too young to see it at the cinema. I think when it came out, it might have been a 15. Um, I think, but I certainly didn't see it at the cinema, and I didn't see it till we had someone got it on video, and I watched it maybe a year or two later, however long it was, and I just remember thinking, like, what have I just watched? Like this is unbelievable. And like you said, a lot of the things I think just influenced everything after that. Like you said, the long black coat. I got a long black coat after that.
Mm.
Everyone wanted that Nokia phone. Um, just the music, and everything about it was just so cool. If I could have found a pair of those Morpheus glasses that didn't have the arms on them that just rested on your nose, I would have got those. I'd have been walking around like that. You know, um,
I remember you walking around like that. Actually, it was normal. It wasn't like
just
you were
yeah,
in
I
a
just had a
public
long
place.
black coat, and it was just like, yeah, that was my coat, and because it was just so for me, it was perfect. And I've watched it. I went to see the cinema. I think it was just before. I think it was in 2019, just before lockdown and everything. And I went to see it in the cinema again with a mate, and it was just unbelievable. And watching it was like, there are no films like this anymore. There
Mm.
just aren't. In terms of this is like it's original. I know there are some contentions out there. It's obviously been influenced by other stuff, but just in terms of like, it was just so original. And
Yeah.
yeah, we just don't get anything like that anymore at that level. Like it was just so good, so
I
so
think
good. So
before we
just
talk,
huh?
I was just going to say before we talk about the film, I think like you were saying, I didn't watch it in the cinema. I watched it on DVD, and when I did a bit of research for this film was one of the main reasons that people transferred over from VHS to DVD.
Mm, not
And
surprised.
my personal copy of the DVD was like had like a little clip that opened up like a book, almost to reveal the disc.
Mm.
But yeah, the menu screen on the DVD was amazing because you had like play the movie, scene selection, special features, and while that's there, you've got like the film playing in the background. So it was like, oh, this is weird, like it, and it was really advanced. Obviously, VHS is just put it in and play. You don't have that sort of select screen. I mean, it's pretty normal. Obviously, it's normal now, but at the time, that was my experience of having the DVD.
Mm.
Um,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
for me, there was just, just everything was just firing on all cylinders. If you just talk about who the actors, Keanu Reeves, perfect. Obviously there was the out. I think even Will Smith confirmed it that he was in line to play Neo, which I just think would have been no. You know,
we probably would have enjoyed it had
no,
we,
it'd have been a
but
different film. It'd have been
it
like,
would have been a
here it
different.
goes. Like him, Will Smith, and all over doing his Will Smith scream, and it would
That's
have just
cool
been
though.
no. It wouldn't have been no. It would have been awful. And obviously people, Keanu's like, whoa, his way of being was very in line with Neo. Morpheus, I mean, just Lawrence Fishburne was just so good in this film, and Carrie Ann Moss as well, just badass, just kicking everyone's ass in this film. Um,
I mean,
just
the opening scene where
oh,
it jumps up and it.
it's like you've never seen anything like it. Like I remember watching it, going, "What just like how did what?" Like
Because
the camera goes around like 180, whatever 360 or whatever it is,
mm,
270 or whatever it is, and you're like, "Hang on a sec, what just happened?" Like I've never seen anything like that.
you're like, how is she doing that? And also,
Yeah,
how did they film that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've
Because
got,
I
and
had
I've had, like you said, you had the DVD. I've had I had the tape, the DVD. I've had the Blu-ray. I've got the 4K version now. I've seen it in the cinema. It holds up. Like there's a couple of, I think the ropiest bit of special effects is probably the squid. I think you see it looks pretty ghetto nowadays, but
mm,
the rest of it is just perfection. Um, and it's just everything after this. Everything had bullet time. Everything had, like gun scenes and like lots of gun. Like everything was trying to be cool. Everything was just trying to copy this completely. And before talking about characters, Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith,
yeah,
just one of the best sort of villains. You hated this guy. He was like the Terminator times 10 because he was just couldn't be stopped, and he could, he gets, later in the film he gets hit by the train. You're like, yes, we got him, and then he just appears as another guy out of the train. You're like, oh my god, this guy just won't stop, and just constant. It was so, and he was so good, and at the beginning, when he's got the upper hand, and he's like, I need my phone, I'll give you this, and you give him my phone call. It's like, how could you have a phone call if you've not got a mouth? And then like
mm,
and Smith's just sitting there so smug, so smug, so happy with himself that he's just dominating this guy and just
yeah.
making him look idiot. And he's just amazing through. And even that sort of interrogation scene he has with Morpheus, where he's just like, it's the smell. Like he like wipes his hand on Morpheus's head and smells it. It's like it's disgusting. You're animals basically. He just hates being in here with humans, and it
He,
just
my,
amazing.
my one complaint about his character is that he almost feels like a human. Like the other agents do seem like agents, but he's like, and obviously he kind of becomes unplugged somehow. It's like he's a person, but he's a computer. So I think that's my one sort of
Well, you
complaint.
think about it, they're programs, aren't they? But they were made by AI, that became self-aware. So I always assumed that he was just a program that had sort of become self-aware
Mm.
of like properly self. Like he was just like, I don't want to do this job anymore with you, like animals in this cage. I don't want to be here with you idiots. Like he was
And you,
so
yeah, you,
disgusted by people.
you touched on that a minute ago by saying like it's the smell, and he says to Morpheus, "I want out." So I guess it kind of makes sense, and that was deliberately written.
Yeah, like he was just it was he'd been there so long and had to put up with all this nonsense for all these people where they why can't you guys just stay in line? Like
Mm.
just die. He's so
Yeah.
aggravated by people. I love that. But I mean, even just the beginning, when you're watching it, I mean, it takes a while to actually get to, the what is the Matrix um question. We see a few hints, like things are happening. Follow the White Rabbit. We see that he meets Trinity. They're sort of hackers, and he's like, "Oh, okay, like what the hell's going on?" And then you sort of see again, the way it looks, the green tinge while he's in the Matrix. You know you're in the Matrix because there's like a green haze over the screen, and
Yeah.
you know
I
that.
love that tone. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and there's a bit where I think they, obviously he's been taken by the agents because he's tried to get away, but he wouldn't trust Morpheus over the phone, and they've put this sort of tracker machine in him, and they get it
It
out
was
with this.
awful, by the
They
way.
get it out with this like crazy like machine where it's like hold him still, and it pulls it out. And he's like and this sort of comes out. It's disgusting, and he's so freaked out. It's like what is like whoa, what's going on? And I think Trinity's like you can go. You know what that road leads to down there. You know where it goes. Like you can
Yeah.
go that way, but or you can come with us. And
Yeah.
he sort of and it's again the way it looks all raining. It looks amazing. Like it's just incredible. All the shots, everything, just incredible. And then we get to the house where he meets Morpheus, and just that whole scene. I think the lightning goes off when like Morpheus turns around, and it's perfect. And he's just like, you've the question that the thing, what is he's like, what is the Matrix? And they're discussing it, and Morpheus is it's all mysterious, isn't it? Like you don't like what and you can tell Neo's like, what is this guy on about? Like I know something's like this is weird.
So this bit that you're talking about, I had a friend at work, and I said it's an older gentleman. I said, "Have you ever? Oh, I'm going to do this Matrix review," and he hadn't heard of the film, and I said, "Oh," and I was explaining this exact bit that you're about to share,
Mm.
and I just showed him the 5 minutes from him taking the red pill or whatever,
Oh,
red pill, blue pill, and then obviously being unplugged, and then him like looking and seeing the fields of the bodies, and he just like went, "What's the name of that? I'm gonna watch it." It just grabbed his attention, and it
it's
was like amazing because he'd never seen this, but he was like, I want to watch this."
I wish I could go to a point where I don't remember any of this film and watch it again and see that bit where he's like, did you see like the mirror I think fixes itself and he's like, whoa, what's going on? And then he touches it and it's like going up his arm and you're like, is this real? Like what's happening? Is that actually happening? Is that in his head? They're like, we're gonna lose him. And then like you said, bang, we wake up and the most horrifying,
Yeah,
like the worst thing you could possibly imagine. You wake up in this sack. It's like, what the hell? He's got this thing in his mouth. It's like, what pulls it out? He's bald. He's like emaciated, and he's looking around like, what the hell's going on? Lightning. It just looks like hell. Like it looks like, oh, I've just woken up in hell.
I
This,
hated how he pulled that thing out, and it's so deep within
oh,
inside it.
awful. And then it starts sort of exploding off him. All the wires start exploding off him. And
Yeah,
he's just like, what? Like he is so discombobulated. He has no idea what's going on. Like you said, you see the fields, and it just looks insane. You're like, what is going on? And he like shoots down. They pick him up, and then I think there's a lot of time passes because they have to like build up his muscles. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you've never used your
one
legs
of my
before.
yes, that's what I was going to say. One of my favorite lines is like, I think it's like my eyes are hurting, and it's like
Oh yeah,
you've never used them before,
oh
and it's
yeah.
just amazing.
It's so good because it's like hang on a sec, what? Like you're just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And obviously he's been there probably, I guess, months at that point where he's sort of his hair's grown in. Maybe it's a few weeks. His
You get
muscles are
the
now
you get the explanation, don't you? Where he gets plugged into
gets
something.
plugged into. He sort of feels the back of his head and he knows it's like, what the hell is this? And it's like,
He
oh,
doesn't want to. He doesn't want to touch it at first, does
Like,
he?
yeah, he's like, whoa. And anyway, yeah, like you said, it gets to that explanation when Morpheus explains what happened sometime at the end of the beginning of the 21st century. AI basically took over and enslaved us. We tried to scorch the sky. They were like, well, we need a new power source because they were run by a solar, so let's use humans. And then and it's amazing. It's amazing. Um, like this, he's explaining everything, and he's like, and basically turns human into a battery, and he's just holding this small like little battery, and then Neo's
His,
like,
act, his acting when he's going to be sick
yeah,
is so
so get me
so
out of it. He's
believable.
so like, what are you talking? Like his mind is completely blown.
Yeah.
And he just is like, get out of it, and he's gonna blow, and then he throws up everywhere. It's disgusting. It's a very and the real world is so grotty and grimy. They did such a good job of just looking like, yeah, these people are like survivors. They're not thriving in this real world. They're really struggling. They're eating this slop. It's like it tastes like tasty wheat or whatever. I think the
Yeah,
guy.
what's that taste like? I don't know.
It's like, yeah, like tasty wheat. Well, what does tasty wheat taste like? It's like, what? Like, who made up? Did we make up? Did they make? Like, it's really, there's some really funny moments of meeting all the crew. You know that, but you do realize there are some real humans still, as in naturally born humans still alive. There's a human colony called Zion. That we obviously hear about in the
I,
first one. You see
I,
see later in the other two films.
I was going to say I like that Morpheus says that it's a battery because with this film being very like Christ heavy, religious metaphors and stuff, I think by having it be a battery, that keeps you in the film world. And
Mm,
it, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
If you made it about like, oh, it's because we want to go to heaven, or it's because stuff like that, I think you'd lose your audience a bit.
yeah.
But yeah, I like that it's like, yeah, the machines need us because we power everything.
Yeah,
So that
and it's just, and just that whole setup, that whole bit, up to that point, it's like this is crazy. Like this is it's such an original idea. It's so good. And then the one of the bits of the films, just in terms of the whole film as a film as a whole, that obviously stands out. That stands the test of time to this day. There are films coming out now that don't have as good at action as this film does. Fight choreography is off the charts. The actors learn, you know, martial arts to make sure that this was the absolute best.
stop
The
trying to hit me.
the bit is where it's like, I know kung fu's like, show me, and it's like, oh, it's just so good. And that whole bit, I've watched a breakdown of that scene. It's like, why is this so good? Like, why is it so good? And it's because basically what they were saying is like they've planned it out so well that it's just telling a story. Watching it, you don't need to necessarily know the context. You just see the story being played out in this fight, and it's all worked properly. You can see they've laid it out. There's some cool, obviously, uh, camera effects. They've got really long cuts where you see Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne actually fighting, and you're like, and it's not cutting away. It's not showing the back of his head, and it's a a stunt double or something. It's actually them fighting. You're like, whoa, this, and it just adds something to the whole experience.
We just the bit I love is also when it's like Morpheus is fighting Neo, and they all run to watch it
Yes,
on the coat.
yeah, because
And
obviously, y-
the music really pumps up
yeah,
at
because
that
obviously they're
point.
all like, oh, he's the one, like Neo's the one, and they're all like hyped that he could be the one, and
Yeah.
seeing him fight. Um, and it's just that fight is so good. Obviously, so many good fights. Obviously, Trinity at the beginning, like you said, even the chase scene in terms of action, the chase scene of her getting chased by the agents over the roofs, where she jumps, the camera does like a 360 round her. She's jumping, she jumps through the window, she falls to the bottom of the stairs, and she just pulls out her guns, and she's like it said, run Trinity or move Trinity. Like you got to get going because these guys are coming, and it's just great. And then obviously the couple of bits at the end, the fight at the end with Smith at the station, where it's like, they obviously all escape, and it's like run, and he turns to run, and then he turns back.
Can we just
Oh,
rewind a little bit?
yeah, of
Because
course.
one of my favourite bits, and I believe it was in a trailer. So that kung fu bit is incredible for me as well because Neo's, because remember they're putting the program and it's like he's been doing this for hours and he's like, I know kung fu. When he does, Keanu Reeves acts so well at doing the kung fu, but doing it without believing, and then he's like, Tank, load the jump program, and it
Mm.
just goes to the top of that building,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's like, like release your mind or something,
Yeah, and he does a massive jump, and
and
you're like,
and
what?
he just does the jump, bang, turns around and looks at him. He's like, whoa. And I think that was in the trailer, and
Yeah, yeah,
always love that jump.
yeah, yeah.
And then
But
he just
it's
pulls,
just great.
and
Um,
then when he falls, obviously he smacks his lip, and he's like, "Oh, I thought I couldn't get hurt in here." It's like
yeah, yeah.
your mind makes it real. It's like, oh,
Oh, and
it
just
just
to go
added.
into that fight again, with Morpheus and Neo, where he's like, why am I beating you? It's because you're faster. He's like, do you think in the Matrix, me be having larger muscles or whatever it make that's why I'm beating you in here. And he's like,
Mm.
and he looks at him, he's like, do you think that's air you're breathing? And then he sort of, and
But,
Morpheus just sort of turns back, goes,
yeah,
and just sort of
I
walks
love
off,
that.
just like his just mind is he just like, oh, okay, like he just doesn't get it. So I love that again. It's just him. You can see he's trying to like coax this out of him. This, he believes he's the one. He's trying to coax it out of him by like, stop thinking about what you think. It's not what you
Yeah,
think. And obviously, you know, just even when they are escaping from. So obviously they come into the Matrix. I think for Neo to see the Oracle,
yeah.
and they come back, and then obviously Neo sees some deja vu, and they're like, "What did you say?" It's like, "Oh, I saw that cat twice." It's like they're like, and then they all go, "Holy crap! Like we need to get out of here," because
Yeah.
because obviously deja vu means there's been a change, and usually means agents, and they're escaping in that building, and Morpheus basically sacrifices himself for Neo, and again puts up a decent fight against Smith, a nice little action scene there as well, um, and then but the rescue of Morpheus is just incredible. The lobby
Mm.
scene, all of it, like the cartwheels, the wire work, the guns, explosions. It's just crazy. Like they walk through, they're pretty out of order. You think about it, they walk through that security bit, and it's like do do do, and they're like, "Have you got anything on you?" He whips open his coat, and it's just guns everywhere. The guy's like, and I think Trinity walks in the other one, and they just blow these guys. They're just security guards, and they just blow them away, and then they just start taking on everyone, and it's just incredible. There's so many good parts of that, and it's
I
just
think that when they blow up the bottom, I think the CGI is not the best, is it? On that door that's like bouncing
yeah,
around.
yeah, but that's such a I think those kind of like it's what they could do at that time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I think for
it's fine.
me,
It's fine.
go on.
No, I was just saying it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, you know, they go up to the roof, and then we again just this. I mean, I might have skipped over a couple of action scenes. Again, action. Neo against the agent up there. The agent's dodging. They're fighting up there. The agent's dodging the bullets, and Neo goes, "Trinity, help!" And then the agent, and then bullet time. The iconic bullet time um,
Mm. Lean
shot
back.
where he's leaning backwards. Every kid, if you were around the age and saw the Matrix, you were trying to do. You were
Oh
trying to
my!
do the going backwards. Um, if
Oh
you
my
watch
God!
the behind the scenes, you see him do it, and it just looks quite awkward when he goes really quick, like back, 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 and you sort of like, oh, that's a bit weird. But obviously, because they slow it down, the cameras are all lined up, and also they had to. The cameras weren't just in a linear. They weren't just lined up at the same place all around Neo. Again, watching this breakdown, the cameras were spaced um, depending on how fast they wanted it to go round the the character round Neo. So this was like so tightly planned. Like they had really thought about this stuff, and it's just incredible. And obviously, he gets hit, and obviously Trinity's like, "How did you? how did you do that? Like you move
Yeah.
like an, he's like, I don't know. He's
I,
just like,
I like that he shows moments of the speed at several times. You know, like when he in that fight with Morpheus, he sort of does. He
little,
goes really quick for a moment,
yeah, yeah.
and in the here he goes quick, and they're like, I've never seen anyone move that fast.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, there's just these little hints that, because obviously I think when they went to see the Oracle, she told him, "Oh, you're not the one."
mm,
Um, but obviously, again, once we know the Oracle, she tells you what you need to hear to
yeah,
understand, to go where you need to go. But yeah, that even the so they're rescuing Morpheus and they jump. He jumps out that window and the water's going. He gets shot in the leg. Like he's got the minigun. It's just incredible. Like that. It's just such a
can
good.
I, can
You
I
just
spoil it for you, or do you want me to not?
spoil what for you?
You know, the bullet time, the famous bullet time.
Which famous? What the one around Neo?
Yeah, Trinity help,
Yeah, yeah,
and obviously for the viewers out there, uh, when he shoots his guns empty and drops them on the floor,
yeah. They're not on the floor.
and then as it's going around, they're not on the floor.
Yeah, yeah,
Neither are like the bodies that he's just like
yeah.
killed.
It's to me, it's just like it doesn't even matter. Like it
Oh,
just
cool,
doesn't.
yeah.
It just literally to me, in head canon, it could be, oh, he's moving so fast we can't see any of that stuff. He's like breaking the matrix so much that like we can't see it. Do you know what I mean? Like I would happily be like, yeah, that's how it
That's a
works.
funny type of ignorance you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because for me, everything else, it's just, imagine like, so I've got to take a little score off because, the guns went on the floor. And it's like, it's a bit like that stormtrooper hitting his head on the door in the first Star Wars. Like, it's just one of them things. It's like, yeah, hey ho. It's just so good that it really doesn't even matter. Um, and all the action was just so good. Obviously the helicopter, I even forgot that the helicopter crash into the, you can visualize that helicopter crash in your head, the way it ripples out across that building. It's just so good. The glass explosion, I think they actually did that explosion. That's a real explosion, I believe. Um and it just incredible. And um and um
So what
and then
bit? What say that again? The bit, the
the
helicopter.
the helicopter explosion in the building where it ripples out and explodes out. So
Oh, and yeah, because he's holding on. He decides to hold on, doesn't he, to the rope?
yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah,
and
so well shot, and I always found the rippling of the glass and like the Matrix rippling was cool as well with the explosion and
mm, it was real explosion. That glass, the way it's sort of circular explosion was real, I
I
believe.
love.
And then obviously for me, again, you've had all these amazing, like in most films, those would be the best moments of all those films. You know, in most
Mm,
normal films, but then we still have Neo versus Smith, which is just incredible. Um,
yeah,
where
he's
they
so,
run at each
he's
other
so,
with the guns, bang, 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 and then they hold the guns to each other's head. And he's like, you're out. He's like, so are you. And they're like, ugh. And
I
then,
think what makes that fight good is that Neo has a chance to run,
yes,
doesn't,
yes,
and it's like yeah, us as the audience are like yes,
yeah. And
and then
Morpheus is like, he's beginning to believe.
he still needs to run at the end because
He's not
he
there.
hasn't he's not there yet. But
Yeah.
you're thinking, oh, man, like Neo is so vulnerable
There's a
in
point
this
where he
film.
gets absolutely annihilated and he stands up and he sort of just like flexes and this dust comes off him and he
Yeah.
does a hand and he's like, come get some. Like,
Mm,
I think The Rock ended up doing that, come get some kind of thing.
yeah.
I'm sure it's from something else, maybe Japanese cinema or something like that, Chinese martial arts cinema or something. But he just sort of bring it on, and I think he ends up getting annihilated. And he's like, you're gonna, you're finally gonna, Mr. Anderson, your time's over because he's holding him in front of that train. And it's another great moment. It's like, my name is Neo, and he smashes into the roof. Again, like you said,
Mm.
everyone's like, yes, like, come on. And, you feel really good. And then, like you said, he needs to start running because he's not there yet. And he just has to leg it. And we get to that
You're kind of
moment.
thinking like, what? How many fights does he have to have to get there?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, And I love that running away because he's got Tank on the going. Take your left, take the other
And we
left, and
keep
there's like
seeing the
the
agents
agents
pop up in like, in like a
appearing
baby's
everywhere.
crib, just like bang, like he's,
Yeah.
they're just sort of appearing out of nowhere. Like he gets, doesn't a knife appear near his head? Because like suddenly he turns, it was like he
Oh
looks
yeah,
once,
yeah,
it's like an old lady. He turns back, knife appears, he looks back, and it's an agent. He's like just running through this building. He gets to the phone, and there is Smith. Bang, bang, bang. Obviously, not only are we trying to get away from agents, they're trying to set the EMP off because the squids are coming
yeah.
because Cypher has screwed them over. Um, and so there's a lot.
I
It's so
remember
much.
the bullet when he gets shot by Smith.
Oh
It's not as loud, is it? And he
no,
just sort of looks down and he has the red blood, doesn't he, on his
I
hands?
think he just puts his finger on it or something. You see it, and you're like, whoa. And then he gets. And I mean, Smith shoots about 12 bullets into him. It's
Mm.
like Smith is making sure this guy's dead, and it's like bang, 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 bang. Like he's annihilates him, and then Trinity's like, "You can't be dead. Like you can't be dead because she said I would fall in love with the one. The person I fall in love with would be the one." And then obviously, again, it's like like you said, there's a religious overtone, undertone in the thing. Dying, coming back. And again here
Mm.
he dies. It's like he had to die to become the one, and he wakes up and she's like, now get, and his heart starts and she's like, now get up, and he stands up and you see there's already a weird look in it. He's just like, whoa, what's going on? And
Mm.
I think it's because you see his vision. It's the Matrix code, isn't it? He can see the code now. And
Yeah. And the
Smith and
music
they
is really going at
oh,
this point.
music's amazing. It's like this sort of ethereal, like, oh, like it's just amazing. And all the agents pull out their guns, they shoot him, and he's like, what does he say? Does he just say no? He puts his hand up and stops the bullet,
They
and you're
they
like,
all they all just look at him, and as they sort of click the gun, he's like looks at him like no,
no.
but it's just like a
Oh,
It's not even confidence. It's just that he believes now.
yeah, it's not,
He's
yeah, it's just like, no, this is, yeah, just no. It's just not happening. And the bullets
yeah.
stop, and you're like, what? And then Smith, you see again the anger. He's just like, why won't he die? Like, he's just, he's so angry. And he runs at him. And you watch that scene again, Dave, where he runs at him and he is giving everything to, like, he looks like he's trying to kill this guy. And Neo's now one handed, just like looking at his hand, like, whoa, what the hell's, like, he's just like, blocking
He's
and pushing, and
not even looking, is he?
he's not even looking at him because but if you look at the face of Smith, he is like giving everything to try and hit this guy. But Neo has now ascended to being the one that he doesn't even need to look at Smith to beat him. He kicks him halfway down the corridor. Leg, he just keeps his leg in the air, pulls it back down. I remember again, just like you said, the music's going. It's like like it's just the music's going, everything's going. He jumps into Smith and makes him explode. And the look of the other two agents is classic. Like it's sort of a little funny moment where they just sort of look at each other like, yeah, we're going, like we're
Yeah.
getting out of here. And it's just what a film. And not even just talking about the story, everything like that, but then for me it's nearly the perfect ending. It could have just been one film. It could have been,
Mm. Kind
you
of
know.
should have been.
Yeah, probably. And it comes with, it's Neo to Neo's narrating, like, you know we're going to free as many people, and you can't stop us, and you're not going to be able to find us. And the music kicks in, that Rage Against the Machine song. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, and he walks out of the telephone box, and he
Mhm.
looks up at the sky. He puts on his glasses. I mean, and then it zooms out, and then you just hear this noise, like, and you hear like a flying noise. Do, 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 do. Come on, do, do, do. And that's the end of this. And it's, I mean, I just, even just talking about it, I've got chills all over me. It's like, it's like but for me it's the perfect ending. They could have and probably should have ended it there, but I understand why you know it was literally like one of the most critically acclaimed films, one of the most
Oh, this
popular in
film
culture. It's like a
won
cultural
loads of
phenomenon.
awards.
Like, no wonder they wanted another one, but
Yeah,
maybe they
that's the thing.
shouldn't have.
You make something so good, and then oh, we made a lot of money on it. Let's do something else.
I think the difficulty is when they want it really quick, and it's like, but the reason why that one was good is because they had time to do the things they wanted to do like properly, and they didn't. Like, I think they filmed the two and the three like really like back to back, and it just wasn't as good, and it got a bit convoluted, didn't it? And it was, but we're not here to talk about those two. Maybe at some point we do. But for me, just that first Matrix, there's not many films I put above that film, if more than two,
This
maybe.
sounds like it. This sounds like it's like in your top five of
It's
all
in my top
time.
three.
Okay,
It's in my top
interesting.
three. And
Maybe
if
we
I've watched
do
it
a. Maybe
recently,
we
it could
do
probably be like number one. Like if I watch it recently, it's like, yeah, that's number one. Um,
interesting. I mean,
maybe, and maybe
I'm
we do,
definitely right.
maybe we
It's
do a video
definitely
next week where we talk about, maybe we have our top 10 films.
that's yeah. I think that could be quite good.
That could be a fun thing to do, because I'm not sure. I think there'll be some films that are the same. I can probably name two or three. Like I think The Matrix probably in your top 10, maybe.
Problem
And
is,
maybe,
you know my number one. We won't say it here,
yeah. Um,
but
but I
maybe
think
we
we will
we
have a
say
few matching. I think we'll have a few matching films, but I think also we might have some different stuff later on, 5 to 10. Um, so that might be a good one for next week.
that sounds good.
But yeah, I think for me, like I could just gush about this film forever. Um, and I'm glad that you sort of feel the same about it as well. Um, what's one? Is there a moment for you? I know you said the whoa, bit, or is there any other moment that you're like, oh
There's
man,
plenty of moments.
yeah, yeah,
I think the character arc of Thomas Anderson
mm.
going from this computer programmer all the way to him flying away at the end.
It's a big one, isn't it?
A lot happens for him, but they take the little steps in each scene.
Mm.
He goes from being plugged into the Matrix to unplugged to like we've just gone through all of that, but it feels legit. It feels like a really good character arc for him.
Mm.
Um, just I think like you say, like the green haze when they're in there, like the sets, the
Yeah.
room, like the buildings, like when the buildings are changing and like they're turning into concrete walls,
Mm.
and like stuff's happening and it feels like a more lived in real world than it sort of did in the other films. So the
Yeah.
films felt a bit more, and like when they're going to see the Oracle, and
Mm.
like they're sneaking around and they're, operator, yeah, get to this phone quickly.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
got to sort of sneak in and out of the Matrix, and it feels dangerous, and I kind of love that about it.
That's exactly that's it. There is always a feeling of like you're in here and you could be killed at any moment.
And some
Yeah.
people were.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell you the scene that we didn't talk about is Cipher when
Oh. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
and
Amazing.
eats the steak with Agent Smith, and he's like, I'm going to put the steak in my mouth, and it's going to be delicious, but I know it's not real. And then he eats it, and he's like, ignorance is bliss,
Yeah. It's
and
like
he
he
makes
just doesn't even care. He's
he's
just like, I
basically
don't
like,
care. I'm fed up with this slop. Just
he's
give me.
obviously there to be the Judas
Yeah. Yeah.
character that
Yes.
betrayed, you know.
Yeah.
But really well done scene, and you just
Even the bit
and
where he's killing his shipmates, which is horrible. What he's doing,
yeah.
where the girl's like, not like this, and he pulls the thing, and she just like the avatar, the Matrix avatar, just sort of flops on the floor because it's just dead.
Mm,
It's awful, and
yeah.
the way it happens.